It's just 6 days until the MLS season begins, and Sporting Kansas City go into the new season on a bit of a high. Back to back preseason wins have Sporting Kansas City and their fans feeling a little bit more confident about the season to come. Now, Sporting, coming off of the Coachella Valley Invitational Tournament, had a great last week in California. It didn't start out so well, losing 3-0 to Minnesota United, which made myself and probably a lot of other fans feel like, here we go again. But Sporting turned it around, coming out with a 2-1 win against New York City FC in their second game, and then over the weekend in their third game, picking up a 2-0 win against Austin FC. Now, these wins were quite significant. One, they build confidence, they build cohesion within the team, but also these are teams that defeated Sporting Kansas City during the 2025 MLS season. Well, at least Austin FC is, who defeated Kansas City on 2 occasions. Now, one of the things coming into preseason that left us a little bit worried was the tactics and the plans from Raphael Wiki. There wasn't a lot put forward about how Sporting was going to play, and once we finally saw some video footage, we saw that first game against Minnesota United, despite it being a loss, we saw a clear identity of what Sporting Kansas City is going to do in 2026. Now, over the last few seasons under Peter Vermes, from what I've gone back and seen, again, as I've said before, I'm a lapsed fan. I wasn't following Sporting Kansas City very much at all until really this winter, getting back into the team after a few years of just being away from it. But what I've seen in previous videos under Vermes, there was no identity for this club. There was no identity for this team. It was just go out and play and hope to win. What I did see in that first game against Minnesota, now remember, in the first 3 preseason games in Florida, there was no video footage released. Games weren't streamed. But once we got to the Coachella Valley tournament, we did see this. So in that first game against Minnesota United, we saw right from the start Sporting Kansas City pressing with a high line. They want to win the ball back very quickly. Press and counter press, win the ball, go and attack. We saw that very clearly. That's the identity. David Lee has put together a team with quite a bit of speed. Speed at fullback, speed at the left side of midfield and the right side of midfield. And this is a team that is hungry to win the ball back and turn defense into attack. And we're seeing that. We saw that in the first three preseason games, or the last 3 preseason games, I should say. The Sporting Kansas City were very strong with their press. Now, that's not to say that they're completely turned around, that they're a completely different team, because as happened with Minnesota, Minnesota were able to adapt to the press that Sporting Kansas City were applying, and they were able to play through it at times, scoring 3 goals. 3 of those goals came against the run of play, counter-attacking against Sporting Kansas City's press and counter-press. But the signs were there against Minnesota that Sporting Kansas City were going to be completely different. Once they get the ball, they want to move it from back to front very quickly. They want to cross the ball into the box for their strikers. And what was very surprising from Sporting Kansas City from that first game with Minnesota is that Wiki wants to play 4-4-2, going back to the basics. 4-4-2 with 2 strikers. Did not expect this. Did not expect from Wiki's past, from what Sporting Kansas City have played previously. Wiki has favored a 4-3-3, an attacking 4-3-3 previously with a 6 and 2/8. This time he's going with 2 strikers and 2 wide midfielders and 2 central midfielders, a 6 and an 8, who at times look like 2 number 8s. So it's very on the front foot. It's very attacking, and it's going to be very exciting this season, in my opinion, much more exciting than what we've seen in the last few campaigns. And perhaps the most exciting thing is that it's front foot football. It's high risk, high reward football. Kansas City are going to get goals this season. We're going to see that. They scored 46 last season. I think they're going to get more this season playing this faster, more energetic style of football. But what we are going to see also is they're going to concede goals. I don't think they're going to concede 70 goals like they did last season, which was most in MLS. But I think they're going to concede goals just because of this high reward, high risk style of play, which is going to leave their center backs, whether it be Jansen Miller or Ian James or Wyatt Mayer, it's going to leave them a bit isolated at times, and teams are going to be able to hit on the counterattack, especially the stronger teams like Minnesota United did. But all signs point to something very, very exciting coming with Kansas City, the way that they're playing. We've seen that although there are only 20 players on the roster at the moment. Heading into the season, expect this week some activity be going on. By the time this video publishes today, there could be another player signed. Ethan Bartlow has been on trial with Sporting Kansas City. I'll talk about that maybe just in a second, about perhaps his progress with the team. But we've seen Sporting only really sign free agents this winter offseason. Justin Reynolds was signed as well as a from a trade with Chicago Fire, and he's been very impressive in preseason, or was impressive in preseason at right back. So he brings a lot to the team. But we've seen Sporting Kansas City really only targeting those free agents at the moment. Very difficult to get some deals done. And as the clock ticks, the transfer window in MLS for this winter period is nearing its end. We've still got some time to go though. But with the players who will be still available in Europe, I think that what we're going to end up seeing is maybe a few players who, if they do come in, it'll be more free agent signings. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Sporting Kansas City use some of those classic MLS trades or cash for a player, or a trade pick in the super draft for a player, to bring some more depth in, because Sporting really needs some depth. 20 players, like I say, on the roster. If they don't bring on any more players from Sporting Kansas City 2, or we don't see Zamir Loyo Renega, if we don't see him get some time with the team, even though he's not supposed to, he's signed a pro contract, but he's not necessarily expected to get minutes with the first team. But if we do see that, if we don't see players coming, we could see that happening, because Sporting need that depth. They're one key injury away from a key player going down to having a bit of a crisis. So they really need to get a couple of players in just to add depth to this team. Now, Bartlow has been on trial with the team. He came in with Wyatt Mayer as well as Jaden Reed. Both Reed and Mayer got contracts for this year and next year. Bartlow, the team didn't sign to a contract but kept him on for Coachella. He played a bit in Coachella, but he looks to be, if signed, he would be a fourth choice center back. Now, the reason I don't think he has signed, and again, he could sign by the end of the day once this video publishes, the reason I don't think they've signed him is because of the amount of money he made last season, $275,000. And you don't want to be paying that to a fourth choice center back, or even fifth choice if they're able to bring somebody else in. So I think Kansas City are maybe waiting to see who they are able to bring in before they offer him a contract, because keep in mind, Mayer and Reed earned last season less combined than Bartlow did with Houston Dynamo. And so far, it looks like Wyatt Mayer is going to get quite a bit of time. He played significantly in preseason. I thought he was a bit of at fault for some goals in that game against Minnesota United. But overall, I think that there's more upside with Mayer, especially at $80,000 earned last year on his contract in Nashville. Now, Sporting, like I say, looking really impressive in preseason. And if we go back to those last two preseason games, 2-1 win over New York City and a 2-0 win over Austin FC. And if you think about those 180 minutes, Sporting Kansas City only conceded one goal across those 180 minutes. And that one goal didn't come from open play. It came from a penalty, a bit of sloppy defending from Jaden Reed, giving away a penalty to New York City FC. Now, you may wonder why Kansas City is going for this high press, counter press, high octane style of play, rather than a possession-based style of play that I think a lot of people may have wanted. Well, one, they've assembled, David Lee has assembled a quick team. Calvin Harris on one side, Stephen Afrifa on another side. You've got Justin Reynolds at fullback. You've got Zoran Basong at fullback, as well as Jaden Reed, who can play fullback, Jack Davis, who can play fullback. So this is a team that has some pace to it, something that you might not see from a lot of teams in MLS, and pace kills. If you can get in and behind these teams, counterattack these teams, or press these teams in MLS, I think you can have a lot of success going forward. In terms of the way that they're playing with two strikers, it's not something you see a lot in 2026. Teams playing with two strikers in a 4-4-2 formation. Now, nominally, this is a 4-4-2 formation, but as Sporting get in possession, it looks more like a 4-2-4 and at times a 2-4-4. So they are bombing those four fullbacks forward, getting them high, splitting the two center backs and then also getting the wings high with the strikers as well, playing behind teams, playing vertically, and it looks really, really good. It looks really, really good in preseason. Whether they can translate this over into the regular season, so we'll have to see as we go on through the season how Sporting can translate this over. But all signs look to being pretty good. If you think about how Sporting did in preseason, so Sporting was able to take 3 wins from 6 games. 3 wins, 3 losses. Yes, a win against Florida International, a loss to Charlotte, a loss to Chicago, a loss to Minnesota, wins against Austin and New York City FC. Now, that's half their games they won. And if you look at the MLS table, if Sporting Kansas City could take half of the points available in 2026, that would theoretically put them on 51 points, which last season would have been good enough for 6th place in the MLS Western Conference. So all signs are pointing to lots of improvement already. I'm being very positive right now because unfortunately I can be very negative and cynical towards Sporting Kansas City or towards what's how things have gone over the last few years. But with what I saw over the last 3 games, even in that loss to Minnesota, you can see a clear identity. You can see what Kansas City is trying to do, and you can see that the players at Wiki's disposal are players who can perform exactly what he wants. And I think that this season, while it won't turn out to be an MLS Cup win, it won't be a Supporters Shield victory, you won't see the US Open Cup, maybe the Open Cup. You're not going to probably see silverware this season. What you are going to see is lots of improvement, and you're probably going to see fans returning to Sporting Park and fans getting excited again for this team, because I think that all signs of these last 2 games, especially last 3 games really, are positive going forward. And regardless of what happens in San Jose at the next weekend in the first game of the MLS season, I think that we can be pretty happy with the direction that the club is going in. So if you want to take a deep dive into more of my Sporting Kansas City and MLS work, go over to Drew FC. The link is in the description, and you can find that there if you want unfiltered Sporting Kansas City and MLS views and in-depth coverage. So guys, thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, do all those things if you can, and I will see you next time here on Drew FC.